Welcome. I am pleased to present a case analysis of Harrah's Entertainment and SAS by Group 1. The members of Group 1 include Mike Allen, Erica Ike, Matt Hall, Mike Runkles, Kathy Struckley, and Nathan Yeager. The following case analysis attempts to analyze, compare, and contrast SAS Institute and Harrah's Entertainment in terms of management practices, compensation approaches, culture, and motivational strategies. The behavioral theories listed here have been taken into account throughout the analysis and were applied to each organization in the compare and contrast technique. We begin our analysis of the two organizations by looking at the implementation of successful organizational practices. This is done through the lens of two readings, the Pfeiffer and Vega 1999 article, Putting People First for Organizational Success, containing 7 practices of successful organizations, as well as the Hope and Fraser article, New Ways of Setting Rewards, the Beyond Budgeting Model, which contain 8 separate sub-principles for rewarding employees. Successful organizations take actions to provide employment security for their staff. SAS and Harrah's exhibit this practice in 2 different ways. For SAS, it is all about the culture. Their people-focused culture results in an incredibly low turnover of 4%. These employees are highly engaged and the leaders are working managers. For example, the CEO works on frontline style programming. In addition, it is expected that staff move through 3 to 4 roles in the organization in their career, as a chance at a fresh opportunity is almost completely driven by the employees themselves. This atmosphere creates an important dimension of employment security. For Harrah's employees, it is exhibited through a very specific action. They showed their commitment to their staff after the attacks of 9/11, as they were the only property on the Las Vegas Strip to not lay off any staff as a result of the short-lived decline in business. Both organizations practice solid selective hiring behaviors to get the right people for the right jobs. SAS benefits from a large applicant pool. They attract numerous candidates, as evidenced by a job fair in 1997 where they had over 2,000 attendees. The largest determinant of success for potential SAS employees is the cultural fit. They require autonomously driven people who have the focus on self-development. This dovetails nicely into the culture of moving through job roles discussed earlier. Harrah's puts concerted effort in their selection process with a focus on standardized testing for entry-level staff and supervisors. This provides an impartial snapshot and avoids the gut feeling that some managers use for hiring. In addition, they transition the approach of finding someone just to meet the minimum requirements with someone who really would be the best person they can get for the job. Teams are one of the most effective elements of organizational design, especially teams with peer-based controls that allow a decentralized structure for decision-making in the firm. SAS brings a complete decentralization design to the organization, described as flat, including 16 direct reports to the CEO. The cultural emphasis is on coaching and mentoring staff instead of using control and monitoring relationships. Their philosophy can be summarized in the view of treat people well, and all things will take care of themselves. Their long-term view truly frees those at the front lines to make forward-thinking decisions and not be constrained by the reporting needs of a monthly goal or target. Harrah's has an opportunity to improve in this area and will be addressed later in our analysis. Reducing status differences between levels of the organization in order to make individuals feel valued is a fundamental element of high-performance organizations. SAS's flat structure, discussed earlier, lends itself to this concept well. But that alone does not provide the status equilibrium. It is the actions of the CEO who is highly visible and engaged. He employs a simple open-door policy and built the firm with the mantra, treat people as you want to be treated. He can often be found engaging with front lines and visiting departments to see how people are doing. This is the proof in the culture of SAS rooted in relationships instead of infrastructure. Harrah's has an opportunity to improve in this area and will be addressed later in our analysis. Information sharing is essential for a high-performing organizational system. SAS has a pervasive knowledge of organizational strategy through its structure. Through user groups, customers interact directly with SAS Institute staff members and provide feedback on products and services. This feedback drives the product development strategy of the firm. It is fostered through the bottom-up decision-making where frontline staff play an integral role in the direction of the organization. Harrah's information sharing is an opportunity for improvement. SAS pays a financial bonus annually to staff partly based on the financial performance of the organization. However, it is purely at the discretion of the CEO to award. SAS does meet a few of the sub-principles of Hope & Fraser's Beyond Budgeting model. The bonus is not paid based on any fixed performance. It is only partly linked to financial performance, but not as an explicit number. The nature of the bonus relies completely on the interdependent teams as the organization's departments work toward a common organizational target. And finally, SAS's general philosophy is to de-emphasize the link of financial reward to motivation. Harrah's implemented a gain-sharing focused incentive where a financial reward was provided for teams who improved their customer satisfaction scores. Through the lens of Hope & Fraser's Beyond Budgeting model, Harrah's is enacting a number of sub-principles of the theory. The gain sharing is not based on fixed performance and is actually explicitly not tied to operational measures. It is solely based on improvement from prior results. It is one metric, transparent, and simple to understand. It is awarded to the entire team and is truly aligned with an interdependent discipline between teams contributing to the entire customer service experience. One of the 7 practices of successful organizations, which is not adhered to by either of these businesses, is high compensation tied to organizational performance. SAS takes a pretty hardline stance on this issue, saying that the financial incentive to the job should be removed entirely, and an intrinsic desire to succeed should be the main contributing factor to motivation. Goodnight has described stock options as a Ponzi scheme, which flies in the face of a very common practice in corporate America for recognizing success. While there are bonuses at the end of the year that are claimed to be related to the company's success, Goodnight says that these bonuses are given out due more of the feelings that he has rather than a strict causational relationship to company performance. Sometimes, even if the company didn't do so great, a bonus is given to recognize the contributions of the employees. Similarly, Harrah's offers bonuses paid on company performance, but higher emphasis is placed on the bonus program developed for recognizing increased customer satisfaction. This bonus is given out not because of company financial performance, but sometimes in spite of the company's financial performance. These bonuses are given out not for other criteria than improved customer satisfaction. When Goodnight says that his philosophy is to get the most out of his employees' way, he means when it comes to their training too. In fact, so little emphasis is placed on telling employees what to do and training them how to do it, that some just can't handle it and do not remain with the company for very long. Technical training is provided internally, and sales staff are often provided a few weeks of training, but little is done in the way of continued development. Even the evaluation process has become informal and infrequent. For low-level staff at Harrah's, an intense level of monitoring and communication is provided in the first 45 days, but no emphasis on training is mentioned. For top management, the philosophy seems to be that the job is the training. For people like Satry, promoting someone from within who understands the culture and the people will always be superior to hiring the next MBA. One of the sub-practices not being implemented in aligning rewards with strategic goals, specifically at SAS. Customer satisfaction is a major goal of the organization. However, bonuses are based on financial performance, and as earlier mentioned, sometimes they aren't even based on that. The goals are given out based on the feeling of management and whether or not they feel staff is deserving of them. While this method has proven to be indirectly successful, it is not a causal factor outlining the motivation of employees to continue pursuing successful endeavors. This is actually done purposefully, as Goodnight believes motivation should not come from financial reward. With Goodnight's obvious opposition to such practices, theorizing the effects of implementing this practice within the organization would be the best we can do. This would likely cause some positive benefits if implemented, but the goals would have to be explicitly defined and consistently be in reward would need to be absolute for them to have any effect. The current approach of tying a reward to an arbitrary goal and then paying the reward even if the goal is not met will do nothing to motivate employees to specifically accomplish that goal. Both companies strive for and successfully implement processes that allow them to have a lower than industry average employee turnover percentage. Harrah's focus on turnover allowed them to reduce theirs over 15% in 1 year, mainly due to increased communication with new hires and a focus on keeping their employees satisfied through lateral movement within the organization. Harrah has also increasingly focused on strategic goals on transitioning to a more customer-oriented approach. This has proven somewhat challenging in an industry as heavily regulated as theirs. However, the emphasis on this aspect of the company is evident through the reward structure put in place to determine bonuses based on improved customer satisfaction. While Harrah has made much progress when it comes to their employee compensation determinations, reduced turnover, and improved employee satisfaction, SAS is also incomparable. Along with the necessity for recruitment of top talent, Goodnight's desire to simply work with good people has shaped the organization into one that goes above and beyond for its employees. On-site daycare, medical facilities, fitness centers, and schools for children of employees are just some of the perks the employees at SAS enjoy. This reduces the daily inconvenience that become a normal part of the day for other people outside the company and frees employees to focus on creativity and other intrinsic motivators. This de-emphasis, along with other practices of successful organizations and sub-principles from the beyond budgeting model that each of these companies has implemented, has caused a number of different effects in the two entities. SAS has proven that the successful implementation of these practices can lead to superior financial success and market share. Through their efforts, they have become the largest privately owned software company with over 8,000 customers worldwide. That began as a statistical process package, has today developed into 25 product system requiring over 100 sales offices worldwide. At Harrah's, the desire for employee loyalty led to the mindset where employees were looking to the past to solve problems rather than looking to the future. This was partly due to the longevity of some senior members of the staff and partly due to management's emphasis on being heavily rule-oriented. With the switch to a more forward-looking plan to improve customer satisfaction, employees enjoyed greater mobility, a higher emphasis on the happiness from senior management, and greater rewards for their efforts towards customer satisfaction. The effects of implementation of the 7 practices and 8 sub-practices by SAS has been, to a large extent, exactly what was desired by senior management. Goodnight's philosophy centers around getting out of his employees' way and letting them develop themselves to their fullest potential. This allows Goodnight to not only be able to run his company without micromanaging, but he is also able to continue pursuing his own passion for programming, which he still does to this day. The effects of management at Harrah have been much less steadfast since its inception. There have been certain changes in the way managers are evaluated that they believe does a better job in evaluating their performance. They are also allotted a more comprehensive freedom to do whatever is necessary to retain their staff. Special training sessions, meetings to determine the levels of satisfaction, and more opportunities to give and receive bonuses have prompted a positive shift in the recognition of management that they are valued by the organization. While SAS believes that customer satisfaction is difficult to measure and hence spends little time trying to measure it, they spend a vast quantity of time trying to improve it. Like most other things at this company, Goodnight keeps it simple. Just give the customer what they want. Bringing in customers to test software still in development allows them to create a product that is tailor-made to their customers' desires. Where customer satisfaction is concerned, it would be difficult to get much better than that. Harrah also understands the value of customer satisfaction. In an industry where customer satisfaction is the differentiation needed to beat out the competition, Harrah's focus on customer satisfaction can do nothing but benefit the customer, and the numbers reflect that. One aspect of this improved customer satisfaction shows the time it takes for employees to reach customers when called has dropped significantly. effectively allowing a larger amount of time to be spent on entertainment from the customer's perspective. As Wynn noted, the only reason for restaurants on the property is because slot customers get hungry, and the only reason to have beds on the property is because slot customers get tired. The cultural differences between SAS and Harrah's are recognizable. SAS has a low level of power distance. It has a flat organizational chart where everyone is approachable and all employees are treated equally. Harrah's is a very high level of power distance where each casino operates within itself and has little connection to corporate management. With the addition of the bonus checks, the local top manager personally hands them out as a symbol of importance. SAS operates with a collectivism approach, with each employee working for the well-being of the company. Employees typically work as teams and may join different teams as the need arises. Harrah's organizational structure creates an individualistic culture, which is evident in their high rate of turnover. Differences between the two companies for femininity and masculinity cultures seem to be a product of the highly regulated market that Harrah's operates. SAS operates as a nurturing company by providing child care, health care, and being more concerned with their employees' happiness, showing a feminine culture. Harrah's has a competitive and success-driven environment, showing it to have a masculine culture for the employees and feminine culture when dealing with the customers. The long-term view SAS has is a result of the length of time it takes for products to be complete. Since the company is not a publicly traded company, they are at leisure to have a long-term view since they are not reporting to stakeholders. Harrah's, on the other hand, has a short-term view because they are a publicly traded company and are accountable to their shareholders. They are working toward a longer-term view in order to create customer retention. Uncertainty avoidance is vague within SAS, although they don't seem to completely avoid uncertainty. Their culture has less structure as viewed in the organizational chart. Team leaders can move in and out of leadership roles, which shows a low level of uncertainty avoidance. The rules at Harrah's employees operate under creates a high level of uncertainty avoidance to the point of pulling up their sleeves and showing their palms to the cameras after any contact with customers. The artifacts of culture at SAS are tailored to collectivism and femininity. The founding members wanted to create a company where each employee was treated fairly and everyone has an office. Another example of collectivism was due to the employee passing away and Jim Goodnight being asked about children at the care facility. He stated that the children could stay as long as they were of age eligible. An artifact showing femininity about a secretary who had a check to spend at the office store, and since they wouldn't give her change, she made a decision to buy M&Ms. Employees enjoyed the M&Ms so much they were added to the list. Harrah's artifacts focused on power distance and individualism. There was a story about Bill Harrah entering a casino and commenting on a ball being burnt out. He also forbid the use of Scotch tape to put up signs. This type of detail shows the focus on aesthetics and not the customer or employee. The "my casino is my casino" attitude shows the individualistic aspect of how the company culture had been running. The culture of SAS is unified. The company embraces cooperation between management and employees as well as between employees and customers. 3 of the founding members of SAS are still with the company in some capacity. The turnover rate is very low compared to businesses in the same industry, which shows a unified culture. Harrah's does not seem to have a unified culture. Each location focuses only on itself to the extent of not sharing information with other properties and being resistant to corporate goals. The tenured employees held the view that Bill Harrah would not have done this, whereas the newer employees want change. SAS has a large applicant pool for each job and is able to hire employees based on fit. This helps to sustain the current culture. The culture of is customer-driven. Jim Goodnight stated they should listen to what customers want and not to develop anything that they don't want. This would lead the programmers work for intrinsic rewards because they know that they are building something that will make someone else happy. There are also many perks that sustain the culture. Employees are encouraged to bring up innovative ideas that could be allowed to work on those ideas if leadership at SAS thought it was a good idea. The company operates as a community of teamwork, childcare, on-site health facilities, and in a calming environment. Harrah operates in a bright, loud, and fast-paced environment. The environment is also individualistic, with strict policies in place that discourage customer interaction. The tenured employees are resistant to change and respond to extrinsic reward systems. The newly hired employees take tests to determine their competence on the job. The new employees are then being brought into the organization through a socialization process, which has helped to lower turnover. SAS has an abundance of hygiene factors that work together to help prevent staff dissatisfaction. SAS's headquarters in North Carolina are picturesque with its lake, hills, walking trails, and quaint atmosphere. The campus has been described as an oasis of calm, which is a stark difference in comparison to other businesses in the software industry. It offers numerous amenities to its workers, an on-site medical facility, staffed with its own doctors and nurses, an on-site daycare with schools, and are heavily subsidized to make them affordable for all employees, and a series of wellness education programs coupled with an elaborate fitness center complete with heated in-ground pool. SAS recognizes that these exceptional perks help keep staff from being dissatisfied, which will help attract and retain top talent in the software field. SAS also strives to make the workplace a relaxed and family-friendly work environment where staff can achieve a better work-life balance. SAS believes staff can work more effectively if they are better able to manage the demands of home and the demands of work. The on-site facilities allow parents to check on their children frequently, and with having all the facilities on campus, parents spend less time shuffling kids between daycare, school, and the doctors. SAS is very accommodating to those needs and provides them to reduce employees' stress and prevent dissatisfaction. SAS is very competitive in its base salaries and annually offers merit pay increases. Additionally, it routinely provides bonuses based on the company's financial performance. SAS also pays into the employees' profit-sharing retirement plans, which do not require employee contributions. SAS pays its personnel exceptionally well. However, it also realizes the pay only prevents dissatisfaction and therefore de-emphasizes pay as a source of motivation. Since Harrah operates in the highly regulated casino industry, it sets forth a wide array of company policies to guide employee behavior. This reduces the liabilities for both the employee and the organization. The policies also set up clear expectations and codes of conduct. For example, after shaking hands with a customer, Harrah's personnel must immediately raise their hands to a nearby security camera to show that they have not taken any bribes. Harrah also instructs employees to deal with intoxicated or angry customers. Harrah openly and clearly communicates its policies to employees to ensure that staff know exactly what they can do and what they cannot do. With these rules firmly in place, employees are more comfortable in their work environment. Additionally, Harrah works to set realistic expectations for its new hires. During the orientation, they experience the bright lights, large crowds, noise, and smoke in the casino. Employees immediately lose any preconceptions about what the work entails, which ensures they are a right fit for the job. Staff will not become disillusioned with the work and later become dissatisfied. SAS and Harrah are two vastly different companies, and they operate in entirely different industries. SAS has a plethora of hygiene factors that seeks to minimize dissatisfaction. SAS needs to keep its campus aesthetics, on-site facilities, and other benefits for a variety of reasons. First, employees have become accustomed to these perks, rely on them, and expect them to continue to be provided. Staff will view their removal as a significant loss, which will cause rampant dissatisfaction. Moreover, the availability of the perks is reinforced by SAS's culture of listening to employees. Employees wanted these benefits, so removing them would go against some of SAS's core values. Finally, SAS hygiene factors are extremely effective at preventing dissatisfaction, as a incredibly low turnover rates show. Harrah's also needs to keep its hygiene factors, but for dramatically different reasons. Since Harrah's operates in the gambling industry, it needs to keep strict corporate policies to guide acceptable employee behavior. Also, working in a casino can be challenging due to the work environment, angry patrons who lost hundreds of or thousands of dollars, intoxicated guests, and working in a loud, crowded, often smoke-filled environment. It is an industry where it is very easy to become dissatisfied, so Harrah's should maintain and consider expanding its hygiene factors. Companies that offer financial rewards for completing work or achieving goals have a chance of creating the over-justification effect, employees' intrinsic motivations for doing work being overwritten by extrinsic rewards. This means employees will begin to do the work for rewards rather than because they find it internally motivated to do so. SAS has a very low chance of creating such an effect because senior management knows rewards are not a good motivator for employees and greatly de-emphasize their compensation systems. They reward progress instead of outcomes and recognize achievement in employees who live the cultural values. Harrah's, on the other hand, can very easily create the over-justification effect in its workers. This is due in large part to a disconnect between its hiring practices and rewards program. Harrah strives to hire people who are intrinsically motivated to work in teams and value service. However, it then provides an external reward of $200 for achieving higher customer service scores. The external reward is likely to kill the intrinsic motivation and replace it with the desire for the reward or belief that they act nice to patrons because of the reward. Harrah's is rewarding outcomes when it should be rewarding progress. Harrah's could improve its program by enacting a token economy that helps add a degree of separation between the behavior and the reward. Also, Harrah's could make it a company policy to hand out the checks personally, which some casinos do, so employees can feel a greater connection between Harrah's ascribed values and emphasizing those values in actions. SAS's motivational framework is very sustainable. They recognize the value of hygiene factors like pay and aesthetics provide in preventing dissatisfaction in employees, but then balance it with satisfaction affirming motivators like autonomy, bottom-up decision-making, and recognizing achievement. SAS's strong culture also works to reinforce the motivational factors and instill them in new generations of employees. Harrah's has a way to go to achieve the level of SAS has acquired, but it has made substantial improvements. Harrah's had high staff turnover, so it's establishing a concrete set of policies seeking to reduce and prevent dissatisfaction in employees. Its hiring practices and 45-day follow-ups from HR help ensure new employees are fitting in with the difficult work environment. However, there is some disconnect between Harrah's trying to hire for intrinsic motivation towards customer service to only replace it with an intrinsic monetary reward. The final question posed to us asks if one of the organization's approaches is superior to the other and why. The answer to this question is that it depends on a wide variety of variables relating to the organization and the employees of those organizations. For example, SAS hires employees based on cultural fit with the organization and requires that its employees be self-directed and work on autonomous teams. This works well for their organization and the type of employees that seek employment there. However, this same approach would be difficult to implement at Harrah's due to the strict regulations imposed by their industry. Therefore, they use concrete and quantitative assessments to select employees and are moving towards centralized leadership. The environment at SAS thrives on an approach that embraces collectivism and teamwork that was founded on the principle that everyone should be treated fairly. To the contrary, Harrah's must closely monitor its employees and relies on accountability at the individual level. Because SAS is a privately held company, they are free to push aside short-term consequences of decisions they make to pursue more significant long-term impact. Harrah's, on the other hand, is accountable to the public and must be conscious of short-term profits and losses. According to Pfeffer, one of the primary principles of SAS is its emphasis on intrinsic motivation. They are afforded this ability because their employees are mostly high-educated professionals that desire long-term careers and are interested in the work they have chosen to pursue. Harrah resorts to extrinsic motivation in an effort to drive behavior towards strategic goals that its employees may not be personally invested in. Let's look deeper into the advantages of internal and external motivation. As you may have seen, extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation are both important ways of driving behavior. Both intrinsic and extrinsic motivation carry distinct advantages, and different employees display different motivational characteristics. For example, employees with high levels of intrinsic motivation can reduce total labor costs. Since managers spend less of their time working to motivate intrinsically motivated employees, each manager has more time to focus on productive tasks. This can allow a business to operate with fewer managers in the hierarchy. Intrinsically motivated employees are also more likely to try to solve problems on their own rather than requiring managerial assistance for any issues that arise. Intrinsically motivated employees are more likely to take on new projects of their own, as well as rather than being guided by supervisors on what to do and the tasks they should be completing. Intrinsically motivated employees can be more creative than those who require outside influence to get motivated. Employees who thrive on personal accomplishment and career development are more likely to make valuable, innovative contributions to strategic initiatives simply for the satisfaction of accomplishing something meaningful for the organization. These employees can be invaluable to the business in industries such as software development, where innovation can change the power structure in the industry overnight. It is not hard to see the connection with SAS through these advantages. However, using extrinsic motivation in a workplace can allow for a greater degree of control over operational processes. Extrinsically motivated employees require closer supervision to keep their performance high, allowing managers to closely watch and guide employees while they work. While close supervision may be intolerable to some employees thrive on situations where they may have constant guidance and encouragement from supervisors. In addition, extrinsic rewards can be used to motivate people to acquire new skills or knowledge. Once these early skills have been learned, people may then become intrinsically motivated to pursue that activity. These advantages lend themselves nicely to Harrah's industry. Our group believes that it is difficult to select one organization's approach as superior to the others. Comparing SAS and Harrah's is like comparing apples and oranges, really. Ultimately, which approach is better depends on the employees to which you plan to apply these strategies, as well as the industry in which the organization lives. The approach that each of these organizations has taken seems to fit each of them relatively well. However, in the end, if we were to choose a one, it would be SAS. Their behavior is closely in line with Hope and Fraser's beyond budgeting concepts. Further, Hertzberg compares one's motivation to a generator that recharges their battery. We believe that the SAS approach does a better job of creating that internal generator and fostering intrinsic motivation. Finally, Hope and Fraser found that rewards only drive temporary compliance, and Harrah's approach seems to rely heavily on this. Memorial Medical Center is a mid-sized regional hospital that employs nearly 4,000 people in Springfield, Illinois. The SAS approach would be difficult to implement throughout Memorial. It would not work well for frontline staff due to regulations, protocols, and continuous care demands, but it would be a good fit for the support administrative roles. According to Greenberg and McCarty, setting up this kind of inequity would create negative consequences, as these differences would be difficult to explain and justify. On the other hand, many of the frontline staff at Memorial, such as nurses, would be considered knowledge workers and fall into the category of technologists, according to Drucker. Under this theory, they must be treated with autonomy. Innovation needs to be part of the work, and they need to focus on quality over quantity. This type of mentality would fit nicely with the SAS strategic approach, as our organization places a high value on innovation, quality care, and customer service. Thank you for listening to this presentation on our case analysis and comparison of SAS and Harrah's Entertainment. We hope that you have found it in line and consistent with the material we have covered so far this semester.